Deborah Cassar, Egan and Rachel Earing. Both of them work in the wellness space. You're going to hear from Debs a little later on, but you're going to start from hearing from Rachel. Now, they were here to talk to us about the Great Big Yawn Mental Health Fest, which is going to be taking place in Bury in November. You're going to hear about that in more detail a little later on, but I started off by asking Rachel about the college that she founded called Live4Energy.
Well, being self-employed and working with people who were in trauma and in need, I decided to set up Live4Energy Training College. And it's been a real roller coaster of a ride, to be honest, but one that I'm really thoroughly enjoying.
So when you first got the idea that, you wanted to help people, that was the basis of it, wasn't it? How did you know where to even begin? Or did you? Was it just a matter of, I'm just going to try it and see what works? And what was the very first seed, if you like, from what's become this wonderful tree?
I think the seed always comes from your own trauma. I'd left a working environment that was full of inspirational people, creatives, and I went into a world of small businesses and schools that sort of stifled that creativity out of me. And as I went through that process of sort of being really stifled, I had a breakdown. Because personal circumstances at home had also changed, I was left with 3 children under 6 and didn't know where to go. Didn't have the tools to be able to help myself and needed to look something that was bigger than me to actually help myself through that process. And that took me through into going into something called Reiki and EFT, NLP, hypnosis, and on my own personal journey of exploring all that. And as I started to explore all that, I started to help other people. And then it became really important to actually live for energy. And embody living for energy and what that actually meant, because I couldn't separate the two. I couldn't separate my personal life from my work life. It was all just embedded in this roller coaster of everything becoming seamless. And as it became seamless, it became all the more important to help people understand their personal traumas didn't need to completely overtake their life like it had mine, where I'd become really stuck and traumatised and didn't have a way forward. I was watching everybody else and I could see very compassionately where they were on their journey. And Talk EFT, which is something that I created myself, which is where really Live4Energy came from, helped me then move into a training college with the
what is that, if you don't mind explaining to us what is that?
So Talk EFT is something called tap around the clock. So it's slowing down the whole process of the tapping mechanism, which is you tap on the meridian, so it's a bit like acupuncture.
So you tap on your own body parts, don't you? Face,
that's right, and you tap on your own body parts. And actually looking into each meridian, why it works, what's it attached to, what are the emotions behind each one, does it have a physical representation behind each one? So for underneath the eye, for example, this is your stomach meridian. And your stomach meridian could then be related to issues from a negative impact, from a physical impact of what that meant with irritable bowel syndrome, also all those types of things. And then the positive aspects. So through that process, I managed to put 3 charts together so that I could explain to my clients exactly how EFT worked, because they couldn't really understand the process.
It's not something either, is it, that we're raised with in this culture anyway, where it's medicine, tablets, we're quite used to, but anything else, sometimes it's met with a bit of, what's that, scepticism. So it's not... I'm not going to say it doesn't come naturally to people, because that's not the right way of saying it, but it's not something that people are as familiar with. So that makes total sense that you wanted to explain to people what it is.
That's right.
Let's just go back to that very early time then, when you'd had this idea, that seed, if you like, had been sown to set up Live4Energy. If you and I had met then and you'd said, I'm going to do this thing, I'd say, what is it?
Okay, so the meridians are very much like having, guitar strings running. Imagine yourself as a guitar. And you've got strings running from your head all the way down to your toes. And through life, we get dirty strings. We get, we pick up other people's rubbish. We pick up our own. Sometimes we get knots in those strings. But all the time, all we ever want to do is play really beautiful music. Now, no matter how much we want to play that beautiful music, if our strings are dirty or knotted, we can't. And EFT tapping on these meridians actually helps you play those strings in a way that helps to shift the dirt and unravel the strings and the language that goes with it. So as we go through that process, we're then able to play more tunefully and even more beautiful music. And
that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
So if you said to me that this was part of Live4Energy, and I said, what's Live4Energy? What is it that you're setting up? What would you have said to me at the beginning? What was the vision for Live4Energy?
The vision is for every single one of us, no matter what age we are, to be able to play the most beautiful music and create something magical together as a harmony and become the most wonderful orchestra, so that we're not just on our own, we're actually together as a real unity of music moving forward.
What a lovely thought. Well, it's 11:20. You're listening to The Late Show on BBC Radio Manchester this evening. Deborah, Cassar, Egan and Rachel Earing. You've been hearing about how and why Rachel formed the Live4Energy College. Her personal experiences led her to want to use the techniques that she'd used to find help and healing in herself, to also then go on to help others. Now, she's organised the Great Big Yawn Mental Health Fest, which is taking place in Bury in November. Deborah, Cassar, Egan's one of the speakers who you're going to hear from in a little while. But in this part, we talk about who the speakers are, who the event is for, and how people can get referred.
Well, initially people would come to me and they'd be referred through friends and family that had already worked with me, again, of all ages. And now those referrals come from all realms of business and schools and, still referrals, really. Or people find me now on social media as well, which is great.
And then those sort of therapies that have helped you use those to help others,
yes,
in whatever setting it is.
Yeah, I use all of those, but I also blend things together. So I don't work as just an EFT or NLP or hypnosis practitioner. I'm an energy therapist, so I blend everything that I have together to work very uniquely with each person that comes through to me.
What's it like for you? So whether you're working with perhaps a group sometimes, or an individual of any age, any background, any circumstances, and you're able to help them, or not, as the case may be, it's not everything's going to be right for everybody. What is that like for you, sort of, the perhaps difficult times, the wonderful times, and you help somebody and everything in between? What's it like for you to experience that as the person trying to help others?
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. It energizes you because it's an energy therapy. It's not a talking therapy that actually you get really heavily involved in and you're taking away other people's troubles. Because it's an energy therapy and we might be working just with colours and shapes, especially when you're working with children, you don't actually even need to know what their issues are. They can just say, okay, this is, it's an orange triangle in my throat, and we can work with an orange triangle.
And it makes sense, doesn't it, to articulate things in that way, especially for a child who's got, more limited vocabulary, presumably, than an adult, let's say, to express that emotion. Do you think there is some resistance to it? Have you come across it? Do you think we're a bit behind, or whatever the right word is, in terms of exploring these therapies? I mean, it's widely talked about that quite often when people have mental, emotional or physical illnesses, we're quite keen to stick them on medication, get them, and maybe it's not always the right answer. What are your thoughts on that in terms of our society and viewpoint of this type of therapy?
Well, I'm now working at the real opposite realms, where I'm actually teaching children to read blindfolded. Now, if children are able to be reading blindfolded, so they have on a blindfold and they cannot see, and they are telling me colours and they're telling me shapes, and they're correct from a book that is in front of them, and they're using all that they are. They're using all of their consciousness. And scientists are proving now from the Noetic Science Institute that that consciousness doesn't reside within the brain. It resides within all of us. all our surroundings, our aura, our magnetic field. And if children are able to tap into all that they are, because, that side of the brain hasn't really kicked in yet until they're 12, they don't question it. They just tap into it. They use it very focused, in a very focused way, and they're even able to read. Now, if that is possible, what are we really capable of doing as a society? So if we look at it from that, aspect, rather than always the negatives, what actually is possible for this human race? Because I'm really, really excited as what is possible, because these kids are turning into kinder, compassionate, advanced reading and math skills are jumping literally through the scales within a matter of weeks, because they're coming to us wanting to be Jedis, and strangely enough, they're doing something that is so remarkable that any trauma that has been in their life that I don't even know about, and their parents are telling me that they're taking the rear defenders off. They don't need them anymore. Nobody's asking them to do that. Nobody's telling them to do that. They're doing that of their own accord.
So tell us now, bring us on to the Great Big Yawn and what that is and how that came about.
The Great Big Yawn. For anyone who has done any energy therapy work, whether that be EFT, the tapping, the hypnosis, Reiki, yoga, they will usually excrete old information out of their system, which means it has to come out of a whole of your body. Now, the yawn is the kindest, easiest way for that to actually happen. And with tapping especially, that happens an awful lot. So that great big yawn, not the little yawns, but when you work up to that great big yawn, it makes your eyes water, your ears pop, and it opens up your mouth, really, so you feel like you're going to eat the room. Something really magical happens when you reach that stage of that great big yawn. And it became even more apparent when I started to work with the children, because when they started to yawn through this process of gathering that information around them to be able to see what was on that page, that yawn seemed to be the real configure of their neural pathways are being created at such a high speed that eyes are watering, their eyes are really hot, their head's itchy, the noses are running, but that great big yawn is actually giving them that information, that change of state that is required for them to get that information in very, very quickly and transpose it into something they can relate back to me.
So the reason I asked about the Great Big Yawn, of course, is because you've got an event coming up, the Great Big Yawn Mental Health Fest. It's at the Red Hall Hotel in Bury on the 10th of November. And I can see this wonderful leaflet in front of me here with lots of speakers on, one of whom we're going to speak to in just a moment, Debs. Talk to me about what the day will involve and a little bit about the speakers. As I say, we'll come to Debs in a minute, as she's one of them.
Well, it's a great day, and it's a day for the local people to know who is available in their area that's not attached to the NHS. The NHS, as we know, is in crisis, and yet there are a lot of capable people out there who are helping people with their mental health of all ages. So I brought together a full team of 10 speakers who are going to be delivering talks and workshops throughout the day. We are going to start, doors open at 8 a.m, so there's exhibitions there, stands there for people to be able to come and network all day for free. If you want to be able to come and listen to one of our speakers, it's just £10, or for the full day, it's £99, and you can listen to 6, you could only fit in 6 of the speakers, but you've got a choice of 10, so that basically there's something there for everybody for the day.
And you can hear from one of the speakers coming up. Of course, alongside Rachel was Cassar Egan, who's going to talk to you about the work that she does. Midnight Mixtape on the way. Rachel Earing. We've been hearing about the Live4Energy College that Rachel set up, and also about the Great Big Yawn Mental Health Fest that's taking place in November in Bury, and about some of the guest speakers. Now, Deborah is one of the guest speakers, so I started by asking her how it was that she came to be involved with the event.
So Rachel had put a sort of advert or message on her Facebook post asking for speakers at her event that she's organised, and I thought, I'm going to send her a cheeky little message just to see whether I would be a suitable candidate or not. And she replied and asked to do a Zoom call, and we did a Zoom call, and she liked me and liked what I had to say.
What was it she liked then? Tell us your pitch then that you gave to Rachel. What you do?
I was just myself. But pitch wise, I said what I would really and what I am passionate about at the minute is talking about shame and guilt, because I work with a organisation called Salute Her UK, which is female veterans who have been sexually assaulted in the military. And I've been working with that organisation for 2 years, and what was coming from a lot of the sessions is the amount of shame that these women are experiencing. And I could connect to that personally on my own journey through coming out as gay in the military and for being suicidal like 20 years ago when both my parents died, and relating it to the shame I felt and the stigma that was about then, especially like in the military. Because you were told to like pull your socks up, get on with it. You don't need any help. You just need to carry on, best foot forward, all them sort of things. So shame was something I could resonate with. And that's where I came up with the title, The Shame Game. And I said I'd like to do a talk about, my journey relating to shame, but again, about the women and how people can overcome shame.
How do you find it when, because of course you no doubt be familiar with Brene Brown, and she researches it, and she said the reaction she gets from people, and they say, what do you do? And she said, I'm a shame researcher. Like, oh, okay. Exactly. How do you find it when you sort of broach that subject with people, whomever they are?
As Brene Brown says, shame only exists when it's made secret and people don't talk about it. And the biggest antidote for shame, like she says, is empathy and compassion. So when people talk about their shame, that's when the magic happens, because they realise that actually they're not alone. There's other people who are feeling shame and have gone through shame. And that's part of common humanity. That's when they realise that actually it's not just me. There is other people that have experienced, maybe in their own way, their own experience, but there is other people that have experienced it. So I approach it, sometimes I tell my story, if I think it's appropriate. But yeah, I just talk to people and say, it's okay to talk about it.
Why do you think events like this, well, Live4Energy in general, but certainly the Great Big Yawn Mental Health Fest and things like that, why do you think events like these, days like these, the opportunity for discussion and learning and exploration in this area is important?
Because that's where the common humanity comes in. People getting together, people talking, people exploring, people asking questions and getting the answers. People seeing that they're not on their own, people learning and finding the right people that's going to be there to support them, because that's massively important. The event has got different speakers. Somebody may go to one of the speakers and think that's not for me, but they may go to another one and go, right, that really resonates with me, what that person said.
That's why it's good to have that variety, I guess, isn't it? So a final one that I'll let both of you answer, because you may have different perspectives on it. For anybody listening who might be struggling but anxious about going to something like this and thinking, oh, will it make it worse? Will I feel, that vulnerability? Will I feel a little bit strange or odd? Or there's a variety of feelings that people can have a fear of feeling, by going to something like this. What would you say to them to encourage them to go?
I would say just find somebody that you can trust. Whether that's a family, whether that's a friend, or whether it's a professional, somebody that you feel that you can trust with the information that you're giving, and just by getting it out there and saying it out, it becomes more real. There's things that you can do with it.
Rachel?
Yeah, I mean, the event itself is quite intimate. The Red Hall Hotel is quite intimate. So we've got a room that's going to hold about 40 people and a room that's going to hold about 8 people. So that it's not a great big venue for people. And I was very conscious about having it there because of that. So it's a safe environment for people to be able to come into. That's not going to be too much, not too loud. And there's going to be quiet little pockets where people can go and have little one-to-one sessions and little breakout spaces as well, so that if people are overwhelmed, there's going to be some help there. There's someone to talk to. The speakers are going to be around for the majority of the day, so that people can have those little intimate conversations throughout the day, as well as listening to their conversations.
Well, that's the Great Big Yawn Mental Health Fest, the Red Hall Hotel in Bury. How can people get tickets, Rachel?
It's on Eventbrite, and it's also on the website www.live4energy, and that's live with the number 4 energy.co.uk.
And it's the 10th of November. Debs, all the best with it, and with the other work that you're doing as well with veterans. That's incredible. And Rachel, thanks so much for sharing your insights with us and the work that you're doing. And I obviously wish you the very best for the event. I hope it goes really well. And thanks for telling us all about it on BBC Radio Manchester.